Hey everyone, welcome to Nerds Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are reviewing episode 7 of the final Clone Wars season. Episode 7 is called A Dangerous Debt.
Yeah.
And today we finally get into the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of the Ahsoka arc with Rafa and Trace. And we kind of get to see kind of what happens pick up from the events, how the last episode ended.
That's right.
Before we get into the spoiler-filled section, let's do some quick housekeeping. So as always, if you haven't seen our videos before, we like to do a review with spoilers. So before we get into spoilers, if you haven't watched the episode, please, come back, watch it after you've seen the episode. You can watch our other videos as well. If you'd like to support us, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to let us know your thoughts on the video, drop a comment below and like the video as well. But with that being said, without any spoilers, first, what was your overall impressions of this particular episode?
I enjoyed this one a bit more action, a bit more, background, and a little bit of a spoiler into what may come in the future episodes. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It had a little bit of everything in it, which was nice.
Yes, I completely agree. Got to pick up on some stuff. Got to see Ahsoka kind of get more in touch with her Jedi side. We kind of got some background on, the Jedi as a whole and people's views of them and stuff, which is
a little
really
bit
cool.
different. Yeah,
it definitely made me think about them in a different light. And I was like, oh, I never thought of it that way. That's really cool.
Exactly.
And how we'll get into it. There's parallels with like superhero movies and stuff. You kind of see movies nowadays, right?
Yes.
And I don't know. It's just like you said, definitely some setups for some future stuff. Overall, yeah, I really liked it. I mean, I guess you could call it an episode that was as a filler from the perspective of where they start and where they end is the same.
Yeah.
So like, as if you didn't see this episode, you didn't really miss much. But there is some development in the sisters and Ahsoka's relationship, and we kind of get more background.
Exactly.
So I thought it was definitely crucial from the arc as a whole, kind of where we're going with this episode.
And seeing why the sisters are kind of the way they are as well.
Yes.
It explains a little bit of that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, the setup.
That's right.
All right, so with that being said, we're going to jump into the spoiler-filled section of this particular review. So let's dive right in. So in this particular episode, we pick up exactly where they left off, where they're basically stuck in a tractor beam with the Pikes.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're basically being walked to a prison cell is where we pick up. So they get captured. And we had predicted that, Anakin
would come in and save the day. Yeah. That didn't quite happen.
It did not happen at all.
I don't think it will happen now. I think they're going towards another area for that.
Yes.
But we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah. So so they get thrown into a prison cell, and so they're all bickering back and forth of whose fault it was, why they're in this mess, and it's Trace's fault, no, it's Ahsoka's fault. Ahsoka says no, it's Rafa's fault because you shouldn't have taken this mission in the first place, and back and forth and whatnot.
Exactly.
Pointing fingers, and then the Pikes kind of show up and are asking which one of you is Rafa, and so they knock Ahsoka out with this electric baton, throw Trace out of the way and grab her and take her out, and she basically says, if I don't come back alive,
if I die, the family business is yours.
Yeah.
Rafa's like, I don't want the
I don't want the debt. I don't want that nonsense. So she gets taken off to be tortured, basically. And, we've seen stuff in videos and movies, Star Wars, of these dangerous probe droids and other things that do torture. We've seen in the later movies, Force Awakens, they have this chair that you get strapped down to, and there's different things.
That's right.
Well, this is kind of like a bit in between where you kind of get the chair kind of thing to hold them in place, but then you got some weird robot droid guy. Yeah, that comes and electrocutes you and stuff.
Before that part, when they were in the cell, is that when they were talking about the Jedi in their background?
I'm trying to think. Did it happen before she got taken or after she came back for the first time?
So I think
it was before because Trace was taken.
Yeah.
That's right. So after pointing the fingers, this is where the big plot kind of picks up. So why don't you jump into it here?
They're all bickering back and forth, and then a comment is made. You sound like a Jedi. They say to Ahsoka, and she says
about her morals.
Yeah. What if I am? And they say, don't joke about that. And then they tell a story about why they don't like the Jedi and how they've grown up feeling the way they do about the Jedi. So I guess during an event, one of the Jedis was, chasing a bounty hunter or a bad guy. And, he disabled the engines on the ship. The ship started going down. The Jedi hopped in, steered it away from a busy platform and into a wall. But what they didn't realize was on the other side of the wall is where Trace and her family were. Her parents saw it coming, quickly moved them out of the way, but their parents weren't lucky enough to get out of the way.
That's right.
So I guess a couple of days later, that same Jedi came. They described her as beautiful, you know, with the
Green skin.
the robe glowing off her green skin and her eyes. And then she just said, I made a choice. The Force will be with you and you'll move on, kind of thing. And it just shows that all these movies and shows we see, oh yeah, the Jedi, you know, steered away from this and then crashes somewhere else, or a safe landing, and then nothing happens from it. But you know, other things may be affected. And like you were saying before, similar to the Avenger movies, where, you know, they throw a bomb away and then it explodes and kills Black Panthers. No.
There's all different. There's civilians, there's casualties,
Exactly.
Hulk, and all different things smashing. If you look in the DC universe, Superman and Man of Steel smashing new buildings, there's a lot of casualties. And what's the consequences of those actions? We usually say, it's okay, he's fighting the bad guy, it's all that matters.
They win at the end, but then we don't see this other side.
Yeah.
So that kind of opened my eyes as well. I was like, oh yeah, I guess there are like effects from the Jedi, and then they just up and leave. And then, you know, Trace and her family, or her sister, were, you know, homeless. You know, no parents, no one to look after them, no money. So this is why they grew up on the streets, trying to figure out, you know, making any credits they can, any way that they can, because they were by themselves and grew up on the streets essentially. So it was interesting to see them set it, because I've never seen this in any Star Wars episode or movie where they describe the other shoe.
Yeah.
Right? The other side, or other people that are affected. It's always, oh, Jedi versus Sith, you know, one wins, one loses, and that's it, right? You know, you do something good, everyone hails a Jedi, and then, you know, everyone loves them. But now we know why some people don't like the Jedi, don't trust them, think that they're the bad guys, and so on. So it was interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of get that, and we understand that they're distressed with the Jedi, and you know, how they blame them for the death of their parents and their life as it is. So we kind of move on. Rafa gets tortured, comes back, is pretty much like out of it, and so Trey stands up. It's like, what did you do? Whatever. And so again, they knock Ahsoka out again with this electric baton or whatever. And so she comes up, she kicks the guy or whatever, starts basically putting up a fight, and they grab her and take her out to get her tortured. And so Ahsoka's there, and Rafa's kind of like out of it. And so I guess they have a moment where she's trying to wake her up and have a conversation. We kind of kick back to Trace, who is being led to the torture chamber. We see the droid that's kind of coming towards her with the
she sees the chair, she sees the droid with the electric hand prong. And I was kind of surprised, but I thought out of anyone, Rafa would have been the fighter, but she ends up, you know, kind of seeing her time and kind of, you know, knocks one, takes a gun, shoots one, turns around, shoots the droid, and ends up escaping with the weapon. Yeah,
something you'd expect Ahsoka to do or whatever, but no, Trace gets out, survives, and puts up a fight, takes a bunch of them out, and runs back to save Ahsoka.
Yeah, she goes to towards saving,
And so since Rafa is out of it at this point, she says, okay, and she sees like some pikes running by, she's not knowing what's going on, she gives my chance, so she uses the Force, pushes the button, opens the door, Rafa wakes up, and she's like, what happened? She's like, oh, I think there was a power failure or something. She's like, oh, that's great. Luck's in our favor finally. So they go take off running, and so Trey, we cut back to Trace, and Trace is running from some pikes, and guy grabs her, and she's fighting, and so she opens the door for a couple of prisoners.
Yeah, a couple of prisoners like, let us out, because they want to fight too and help and escape.
Yeah.
So she ends up kicking the green button to open the door.
Yeah, they come out and they just start taking out the guys. And I was like, you know what? Now that you're free, run and open up all the doors.
That's what I was thinking.
All the prisoners are going to want to fight.
Yeah. I would have, but
they didn't. They left just the two guys out, and they did some damage to the pikes. And so, you know, she keeps running, and then eventually Rafa and Trace run into each other, and so they're arguing about which way they should go. And so, because like, okay, you know what?
Split down the middle and let's go.
Yeah, let's problem solve here. So, so they take off, and so they're running away, and of course they get ambushed, and we see them kind of get on a cruiser, right? Like a speeder, right, and then it gets shot down, and so the girls go flying, and Ahsoka's still on the cruiser, but the other two, Trace and Rafa, kind of get knocked
well, first
out.
They kind of got out.
Yes.
So they're going over the bridge. Yeah,
that's right. So they're running out. There's some boxes. Some guys come out. So Trace shoots a box, explodes, kills a bunch of them. They're running, and so Ahsoka uses the Force to knock some more boxes to kind of stop between the pursuers and themselves. But then as they're running across this bridge, it starts to kind of come back, sort of drawbridge style. So Trace runs and makes the jump. Rafa runs and makes the jump, and then Trace is gonna go,
Yeah,
and Ahsoka has to use the Force to push her the rest of the way across.
Yeah.
And so then they're like, Rafa in her old ways, like, okay, Ahsoka, if you can't make it, don't worry,
We'll
we'll come back for you.
Yeah.
And then she goes like,
Let's
she's
do
not
it.
gonna make it. Let's just ditch her. Very, very like cruel and whatever.
Yeah.
But Ahsoka, of course, uses the Force as a Jedi Force jump. And they think she doesn't make it, and she's behind them, and they're like, "How did you do that?" And she's like, "Doesn't
I look more agile than I'm more agile than I look." And
Yeah.
She's like, "There's no time. Let's go."
Let's go.
Yeah.
So they take off running, and at this point they get into like a
Kind
car,
of like an
speeder.
alleyway,
Yeah.
right? And then they see the silver angel. Is that what it's called?
She sees it. They want to find a way to get to it. Rafa's like, "We'll just
Yeah.
take any ship to survive." And she's like, "No, I want my ship." And there's again some back and forth.
Because there's an
about-
old guy that was asking, "Do you have any extra credits and stuff like that?" And then he ends up, being pushed aside. But then other Pikes are talking to people, and he asks them for credits. But then he sees the hologram of them, like a wanted sign.
That's right.
And he says, "Make it worth my while." I saw those people. So essentially, they get picked off, or seen by the Pikes because the old man shows them.
That's right.
So that's when they hop onto the speeder, but
They
the
take
Pikes
off.
shoot it and spin
That's
it around.
right. So
and they
Ahsoka
back
is
out.
basically separated from Rafa and Trace. They get surrounded by the Pikes. She takes off running because she's going to come up with a plan to save them. And then we kind of zoom out and we see
Very
this
interesting.
hooded character. So I thought, oh, this is going to be Anakin. And then we see a mask, and it's basically a Mandalorian mask.
Mandalorian mask.
And so I was like, what is going on here? And then I'm like, oh, is that like Anakin in disguise? Is he wearing a helmet?
Yeah.
What's going on here? And then nope, we actually see the three of them,
Yeah.
and they're talking to each other, and they're zooming in on the girls, and they're zooming in on Ahsoka, and they're like, isn't that the Jedi from before?
Yeah.
Now you've seen the Clone Wars more recently than I have. I watched it when it first aired. So, do you recognize these particular ones?
Yes. So, what's the queen that was on the Separatist side but was friends with Padme and Ahsoka? She had a son.
Yes, I don't remember her name though.
So the son ended up teaming up with the Mandalorians, and Ahsoka went with them, and that's when she met the Mandalorians through that contact.
Okay.
So that's the planet that they were speaking about in the clan that they were with. So there's going to be a connection where the Mandalorians, I think, come back in.
Yes.
Because they made a comment of, yeah, I think that's the one. Let's keep an eye on her because she has the same enemy as us. And one's like, well, she could ruin our plan, which is interesting to see what kind of plan they have against the Pikes. Yeah. But that I think they think she's going to be in an alliance because they've teamed up with her before and worked with her before and know that she has the same kind of enemies. So it's really interesting. They're kind of setting up this partnership with the Mandalorians where I think they'll set them free eventually.
Yes.
And then have this team up. And then is this where we see Maul? Is he still leading? He's not leading anymore because he's later on in Clone Wars. But, what happens to him after he's tortured by the Emperor?
Yes.
Essentially. Because his brother gets killed by the Emperor. And then he's tortured by him, but he says he's not going to kill him because he has other things in mind for him. So it's interesting to see not only where Ahsoka goes from here, but what happened to Maul and how they kind of meet back up. Because as we've seen in the trailer, they eventually meet face to face.
That's right. So we see the sisters getting surrounded.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Ahsoka basically climbs up a tower and is spying on them, and then she decides to hijack this robot forklift kind of, I don't know what you'd call it. Basically, it looks like some sort of like construction worker type mech.
Yeah.
And it's got some guns and it's got some arms and stuff on it, and so she kind of blasts through, knocks the Pikes out. She gets Trace on board, but I guess Rafa gets knocked out by one of the Pikes, so she takes off running, and so Ahsoka's literally taking out the Pikes one by one with these guns. Swings by, gets Rafa on board. They take off, and then
the gates open, and it was kind of a trap.
Exactly.
The second in command kind of says, "I knew if I left these two out in the open, you'd eventually come save them." So they're surrounded by big guns and tanks, and then end up having to surrender. And that's when they bring them back into their cell. And where they started in their cell is where they ended. So
that's right. And then they had a couple words, right, between Ahsoka and Rafa and stuff at this point, right? In the cell. Don't they say something? It's kind of like they're a little bit more on the same page now.
Yeah, Rafa kind of says, "I'm sorry, like I did all this. I shouldn't have taken the job. This was a mistake." And then, Ahsoka says, we live and learn from our mistakes. And then Trace comes and says, "But for how long? Are we going to be, essentially, how long are we living?"
That's right. And so it ends with them in the cell. And so now we know, based on this episode, that, the Jedi are looked at these cruel, like, uncaring people.
Yeah.
They did something wrong. Instead of saying, not even apologizing. It was like, this is the better decision.
Yeah,
Sorry.
or even upsetting something up on, we know you guys are orphanages now, or like here, we'll set up a temple here, or some sort of,
Yeah.
home or something for all those that are displaced, or some sort of, teaching or schools or anything. They're just, sorry, the force will be with you.
Exactly.
And kind of like just go on your own.
Yeah. And the way they described the person, I thought it was Luminara, was the Jedi that they were describing, but it didn't specify, so they don't know the name. We just know green skin, but she's like the most iconic green skinned female that's not a male, and she does have glowing blue eyes, and so the way they said she was very pretty and all this kind of stuff, I figured that would be her, but we don't know. So it's very interesting that they had that backstory. They can't trust the Jedi, and so Ahsoka wants to open up, but can't because she's worried about, like, the relationship is already strained between the sisters as they are, and so she's kind of been lying to Trace by not telling her that she's a Jedi from the get-go.
That's right.
And so she doesn't want to ruin what they have, but at the same time does want to open up. She wants to kind of trust them and doesn't know where she can go with that. And then we get the setup with the Mandalorians.
That's
and
right.
Like, are they going to come and break them out? More than likely. There's 3 of them there.
They have a plan already. What's their plan? What's their end goal? Where, it's not just to break out Ahsoka and the 2 sisters. They had something planned beforehand because they were there. So, where are they after?
Did Mike steal something from them that they need to get back?
Yeah. Or are they trying to get rid of, thugs and spice and things because it may be affecting their clan and colonies and stuff like that.
Maybe they want to steal the spice so they can use it for medicine, which is what Ahsoka's initial plan was.
Yeah, so there's lots of options of what their plan could be and what their intentions could be, but this now will open up the way for them to kind of attack and free other prisoners like Ahsoka and the 2 sisters, which will be interesting.
Absolutely. So at this point, we only got about 5 episodes left.
Yeah. So I feel like this will be a heavy Mandalorian Ahsoka arc where they just finish it off with those 2 kind of things.
Yeah, we know Maul's in there.
Maul,
do you think that she will have
come together with Anakin,
a conversation, something like that?
I don't know.
Because I'm just thinking, like, she left, and then the next time we see them together, and this is spoilers if you have not watched Rebels, but in the finale of season 2, there's a come together moment, and he talks about, like, not seeing her in so long, and we just assume that was from when she left. But now that we have this season, do they meet again? Is the last time you saw her going to happen in this last season? I'm kind of interested to kind of know the dynamic there and how things kind of end up in finality, because we know that she has lightsabers in Rebels. We know that in the trailer she gets lightsabers here, and she clearly doesn't seem to have them based on everything that she went through.
Yeah, she would have broken them out eventually.
So
even when she was by herself fighting a bunch of pikes, that would have been. I thought she was going to pull one out there.
Did she get them from the Mandalorians of like some fallen allies, or they killed some and kept them as trophies because they're blue, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens here, but
and I'm interested to see. That's the last we see of any clones and other Jedi, or how they're going to try and integrate all those. If they have the Mandalorian with Ahsoka and Maul and those groups, will they join them all together again? So
absolutely,
I'm very interested to see where they go from here. And I like the Mandalorian storyline of how they're introduced to Mandalorian, and how they have these plans. So I think that's very cool as well.
Yeah, I really hope that it ends up tying up the Clone Wars in a nice bow, get it done properly, tie up loose ends, connect where it needs to connect to the movies and stuff like that, which they usually have a great job in doing that. Like Rebels had a nice ending there and still left things open, so I'm hoping they really do this justice, and I'm really, really excited. I think that the first couple episodes of Ahsoka's arc was a slow kind of get your background and stuff, but I think we're finally like, okay, now the wheels are going and engines in gear, and we're kind of moving along, and I think it's just going to pick up speed.
I'll be really disappointed if they don't get everything in that we think they should, or if they don't really tie it up, because they could have taken those slower episodes if they didn't have enough to kind of fill it in and use those episodes for more use. But if they use enough, and then these were just fillers that they need to push to make it longer, then I'm fine with that. But if they leave things out and they say we didn't have enough time, we didn't have enough episodes, I'll be disappointed, because there were a couple of slower ones, like a lot of things could have been taken out and still been just as good. So we'll see what they do.
Do you think that Trace, not Rafa, but Trace, will be in the rest of the season? Do you think she will continue with Ahsoka?
I
think
so, because they kind of said, like,
I think she's gonna leave Rafa.
When
based on
Ahsoka
the
and Rafa were
conversation.
talking, they're
Yes.
like,
And
oh,
says-
she can leave whenever she wants.
Yeah, she
And
goes, but she thinks you have her best interest. So I
that's
think there will be
right.
a
And she's your sister and stuff, right? And she doesn't want to say no. She thinks you have your best interest. So
Yes. So I think they're going to be a situation where she's going to say, go with Ahsoka. Like, it's time for you to go on your own. You have your own ship.
Yeah.
You know, I've weighed you down long enough.
Will she sacrifice herself to push her sister aside?
Or will she just say, I need you to go.
Yeah.
I'm doing something else. This is best for you, whatever. Or you need to help her or whatever. Kind of do like the mom, the parental moment, finally get into a role as the older sister and get her out. And I think Trace will, that will be Ahsoka's ship. Trace will be flying it and getting her to where she needs to go next.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, but I do think that she'll be, not just one more episode, but at least a couple more episodes kind of with Ahsoka. It'll be interesting to see how far that relationship goes. Maybe she gets killed and that affects Ahsoka as well.
Yep. Very well could be.
And the way she already feels about the Jedi, if it happens because of a Jedi or lack thereof, then it makes her even more angst about the Jedi Order. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of options, which I love. So I'm very excited to see where they go from here. And I think it'll just be more and more and more exciting. So
absolutely
looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So there you have it, folks. That's our thoughts and our review of episode 7, A Dangerous Debt. So we liked it. We thought it was a great episode. But what do you think? What are your thoughts? Drop us a comment below and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We're coming really quickly to the end of this particular season, and we know that there's been a lot of other things, movies and things that have been pushed due to the whole COVID situation. So if there are any other topics, any other shows that you'd like us to cover or get our thoughts on, let us know. Shoot us an email at nerdstalkinfo@gmail.com. You can reach us at Instagram and on Twitter at talknerds. And as always, friends, stay nerdy.